New research shows that many superfund calculators are failing to give proper retirement guidance, leaving retirees unprepared. Super Consumers Australia is urging the government to provide better tools for planning. Company Director Xavier O'Halloran is leading this call for action and joins me now. Xavier, let's just take a step back and talk a little bit more about these calculators and I guess what more could be done here.
Yeah, so these are the digital guidance tools that a lot of superannuation funds have. And what they're trying to do with them is to help people figure out what kind of income they'll have across their retirement. That's not an easy thing to do. It's combining your superannuation savings with what you might receive from the age pension and potentially other sources of savings as well to give you an idea of what an appropriate retirement savings target might be, but also what kind of income you can expect to get in retirement so that people can plan out, what their needs might be. So when we dug into looking at what these calculators actually delivered, we're quite surprised to find that not all of them did a lot to help you. We looked across 50 of the biggest superannuation funds in the country and firstly found half of them didn't have any kind of calculator to help you figure out how to use your superannuation savings. And then of those that did, a large number of them either projected an income that was too high and would see you run out of money really quickly, or tried to spread your money too far and tried to spread it, in some cases, beyond the age of 100, which meant that a lot of people would potentially pass away with a lot of savings intact and not make the most of that money during their retirement years as intended.
Is there a one-size-fits-all, though, when you're trying to look at these retirement calculators? I mean, what's the sort of estimate that people need to retire?
So no, there isn't one size fits all. Whenever we ask people about it, their expectations are very different. And that makes sense, right? Like people are on different incomes and they have different standards of living. So trying to say that one number is the answer for the entire Australian population is a bit of a stretch. Unfortunately, some calculators seem to say that there was one number that you needed in order to be comfortable, which obviously for a lot of people would be too high. And we found compared to what a lot of retirees actually spend, that figure that is often cited is too high. But for a lot of other people, it would be far too low as well. So we just didn't feel like that was good retirement guidance. Another way the calculators went about it is to use a bit of a rule of thumb that's common in the sector to say, okay, you probably need about 70% of your pre-retirement income into retirement. And what that is based on is an assumption that most people are spending about 30% of their income during their working lives on paying down a mortgage. Now, that's not the case for everyone. Some people will be renters in retirement. So again, those kind of figures are just completely irrelevant for people who are renting. And so we found big gaps for non-homeowners as well.
I'm just looking at your chart here there. So one calculator suggesting that if you had $52,000 in retirement per year, you could be out of your super balance at 77. That's incredibly worrying. So what are you sort of calling on here in terms of a one-stop shop to help Australians?
Yeah, so we've obviously looked at all of the calculators and what's available out there, and we've said, look, it's not really up to scratch for what consumers need. As a government, they've all requiring us to contribute to superannuation and save for retirement. And so we think it is actually on the government to make sure that consumers are getting good retirement guidance. And they've got some basic tools out there already via the ASIC Money Smart website, but we see big room for improvement so that people can get a more accurate picture. So what we want to see is a more of an integrated one-stop shop that brings together all of this type of information and helps consumers make a really good decision about how much they need to save for retirement and what kind of income that's going to deliver. And importantly, whether that income is going to match the kind of living standard expectations that they have in retirement.
I'm just looking through the report at some of the super funds that you have included in this, and worryingly, my one has 3 X's across it. You're looking at default income, including a budget and support for people retiring with a mortgage, some of the things that you have mentioned already. So if people looked at this, would that make them think I should engage more with my super, I should change superannuation funds? What's sort of the guidance here?
Yeah, so I think if you're using these types of calculators, they come with really big caveats, and it's important to understand their limitations. No, a lot of people don't like to do this, but reading the disclosure statements at the start of the use of these calculators will give you a better idea of what it can and can't do, and where the gaps might be. So there are different things that you can help supplement the information that's available in the calculators that I'd really recommend people use. So, for example, getting a better picture of what your longevity might look like. There are longevity calculators out there that you can feed in some of your personal data, health data to get a better understanding of how long you're likely to live and therefore how long you need your superannuation to last for you. There's other calculators that can help you figure out how much rent assistance you might get if you're a renter across retirement, what the impact of, say, paying down your mortgage at the start of retirement out of your super savings might have on your income across retirement as well. And then, really importantly, budgeting tools to figure out how much money do I actually need as I'm heading into retirement? What are my living expenses going to be? Because that is really the important figure to figure out. And then you can figure out whether you got the money to meet them after that.
Yeah, Xavier, nobody wants to be budgeting when you're in the golden years of your life, I imagine. Just a final question. I wanted to ask your thoughts in terms of the new super guarantees as well that are coming in 2026, whereby companies have to pay their super at the same time they pay their wages. And I guess your thoughts on how this helps out the consumer.
Yeah, it's a really positive move. At the moment, it can take 3 to 4 months before you earned an income before it ends up in your superannuation account. So obviously, over that period of time, you're missing out on investment returns, which could be really valuable to you. But what we also find is, unfortunately, some businesses aren't doing the right thing and don't end up paying people's super at all. It makes it very hard to track if there's a 3 to 4 month delay on any payment. And so we've heard some pretty bad scenarios where, businesses have gone out of business in that period of time, leaving a lot owing to consumers. And they oftentimes miss out on that super altogether if there's no money left to pay them. So this move is a good step. It'll mean that, yeah, super will end up in your super account usually within about a week or even quicker in some situations. And so people will be earning investment returns on it quicker, and they'll be able to identify if their super hasn't been paid much quicker as well. So lots of positives for consumers out of this
Yeah,
move.